Hey guys, welcome back to another Just Yappin' video, where I'm just gonna talk to y'all, maybe get some things off my chest I've been thinking about. No clear agenda, but you guys have enjoyed the last couple of these that I did, and it's kind of nice to not have to always talk about breaking news or react to crazy video and just set up the camera, set up the microphone, and just talk directly to y'all. The first thing I want to tell you about is a decision that I made, which is to let the haters win, to let the crazies win, at least this time. So I decided that I just don't really feel safe or comfortable doing pre-planned public speaking events at the moment. So I did have to pull out of a campus event that I had scheduled, and I'm not going to be doing any in-person events, I don't think, for the foreseeable future. Partly just because the political moment that we're in, it seems so unhinged, and there's just more political violence coming from both extremes all the time, more and more unhinged rhetoric, and then partly because I've been getting a lot of very specific hate and threats lately. I've been threatened a lot by kind of the woke left in the past, but also by what I would call like the Groyper alt-right, the neo-Nazis, the Nick Fuentes fans who are extremely homophobic and say lots of insane things about me that have no basis in truth. Well, because I've pushed back on some of the stories lately, I think that's why they're mad at me. I don't really know. I don't pay much attention to what they say, but because I've pushed back on some of the stories about like the staffers saying insane things and getting in trouble and saying I love Hitler, well, they've come after me again, and I've been getting a lot of really hateful messages and threats from them, and just not worth it to me to really risk, even take a tiny percentage risk of putting myself out there and letting crazy people find me or do something to me. I'm good, actually. I'll just stay here, not take any risks at the moment. And in a sense, that's kind of cowardly of me, honestly. Like, you know, you'd want to be the person who says, I won't back down, but that's just not me, actually. I kind of like my life, and I don't necessarily feel like the risk-reward ratio is worth it at the moment to be putting myself out there too much until things calm down a little bit. That's the decision I made. It was not an easy one, but I have come to it because there are so many people in the country who've lost the plot and who believe things that are not true, right? Like just are totally detached from reality. And so all it takes is one of those crazies out there to believe something that's made up or a lie or just has no basis in reality about you. And then they might show up at an event you're going to do and try to hurt you or something like that. And while I do feel more or less secure, like in terms of just my day-to-day life, I just don't even want to take that chance right now with some of the crazy messages I've been getting. But on the flip side, that's kind of the price you pay to do what I do and live a life of relative comfort and privilege. I mean, I work hard, but making YouTube videos and podcasts is not exactly back-breaking day labor, and I'm always grateful and cognizant of that. Plus, I know that, like, I make more money than a lot of people who work a lot harder than I do. So I'm grateful of that, but this is the flip side. You have to have incredibly thick skin. You have to make peace with people constantly lying about you and saying just the most terrible things, which I more or less have done. It's still once in a while something will get through to me. By the way, guys, if you do enjoy my content, please consider becoming a channel member. I'm going to keep pushing left and right and criticizing everyone, but when I do that, I lose subscribers or videos don't perform as well. So the more we can get a community-based support for the channel, the better we'll be able to keep truly living up to the spirit of Brad versus everyone, right? Which is what I want to do, is just honest, independent commentary and criticism of both sides from my independent perspective. So if you're able to become a member, I'm going to start, I think, dropping once a week members only videos as well, as much as I can, with like extra bonus content, hate comment reactions, Q&A. Maybe I'll bring my mom back for another video. I know some of you guys really enjoyed that. So if you can, do consider that. But yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling still energized and excited about the work we're doing and the community we're building. And obviously I'm doing well in terms of audience and platform, but the nature of the news cycle is wearing on me a little bit. It just feels like things are just like dark and bleak right now. So I think I'm going to take a couple days. And the funny thing is, to you, by the time you see this, and then I have a bunch of other content scheduled that I've already recorded and edited. But by the time that you see this and everything, and in the next couple days, it will seem as if I've just been posting and working all weekend. I think I'm going to go dark for a couple days over the weekend, though, and just unplug. My partner and I are going actually to DC to visit some dear friends of ours. And they just a few months back had another baby, and we're going to meet the baby and be around their kids, and it will be so fun and lovely. And I'm going to try to unplug a little bit and enjoy the moment. I always love going back to DC, but just to see our friends there. And then I did live there for several years, so there's like restaurants and places that I miss, and I love going back. And I'm just going to try to enjoy that and unplug, But the one thing, going back to DC, this happens when we go back to Michigan as well to see my partner's family. It always reminds me of Reggie, my dog that passed away a little over a year ago now, a year and a few months. And because we had him with us our whole time in DC, our whole time in Michigan, and then until the end when he did die when we were still in Michigan. And then we have not had a dog here living in Miami. And I don't think we'll get one because we live in I got to be kind of careful about how much information I give away, but we live in an apartment complex on a high floor. So yeah, I just don't necessarily want to have a dog in that kind of a scenario. Whereas in Michigan, we had a yard and our dog could roam free and we could go on walks. Here it's very congested and there's a stoplight every 2 feet. It's just, I don't know, at least right now with just the chaos of life, I don't think we're going to get one, but I love dogs and I really miss having a dog, honestly. So I I always spam these meme videos of dogs to my mother-in-law because she loves the same types of dogs that I do. And she said something back today. She was like, "They're so innocent." And I was like, "Yeah, they really are. And we don't deserve them. We simply don't." And it's funny, I was talking about this. I just was on we taped today, but it will air on today as in Friday, but it will air on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. You should tune in. One of my friends, and people are always surprised to learn that we're friends, Batya Ungar Sargon, who is a pro-Trump, but she is independent journalist and commentator who used to be more on the left, actually. And she's kind of like a MAGA socialist, you might even call her. I don't know. I don't want to do her dirty, but like that, how she's populist on economics. She's socially moderate. Anyway, we have quite different views on many things, but we're very friendly. I consider her a friend. She actually reached out to me years ago when she was editing Newsweek specifically to bring in writers who had different viewpoints. And I've always just respected her a lot because of that and because of how much she cherishes debate and free speech and open ideas and the exchange of ideas. Anyway, she's hosting a show on News Nation now, which is the only one of the cable networks that I actually kind of like because they're trying to do something different than CNN or Fox or MSNBC. And they're actually trying to have, I think they call it like News for All Americans or something, where they represent both perspectives and they give you a little bit more straight down the middle kind of news and commentary. Well, I did appear on her show. And I promise, I know I'm just babbling because that's what I do in these videos, but I'm going somewhere with this. We talked about Hassan Piker because one of the things that I talk about is like internet and social media culture. And then sometimes mainstream media outlets will ask me to like explain what's going on to people who don't know. We talked about his whole scandal with the dog and I covered it on this channel. So if you've been watching, I think he did shock his dog. He denies the allegations, but like we've seen enough receipts now that I think he does use the shock collar on Kaya. I think he forces her to sit in the back of his stream as a prop for hours and hours every day. And I think that's like really shitty and really not a good way to treat a dog. But I also think it's kind of diabolical that the man could support the murder of Republicans, support openly alleged murderers like Luigi Mangione, and support designated U.S. terror groups, and then he was like mean to his dog on camera once, and that's like the downfall of him. That's just, in a sense, crazy to me, but in another sense, it actually does make sense because there's so much crazy and dark stuff in the world going on that we have to desensitize ourselves to a lot of it. But then dogs and pets more broadly are one area where we still really allow ourselves to feel. and to be vulnerable and to love openly and loudly, and to see somebody mistreat their pet as a result, I think like hits home for people in a different way. And I think that's really interesting. But ironically, it made me think about getting a dog again. And I do have that mixed emotions of still kind of even more than a year later, still like really mourning the loss of Reggie. And it's funny that it's not funny, but it's interesting because I think before I had Reggie, I would have been one of those people who like kind of laughed at the idea of, oh, we're gonna give you days off from work when your pet dies, or I just wouldn't have gotten it. I would have been like, oh, it's kind of snowflakey. It's actually not. It's actually I kept working primarily. I think I took one day off or something, but um mostly to keep myself busy. But I think it is a real loss. Like it feels like you're lost a loved one, and especially when they're just you have them for many years and they're part of your daily life. So yeah, I'm torn between I'm still in that grieving process, but also I do finally start to feel like I want a dog again, but I just don't think we're in a good situation at the moment, living wise, to have one. But then I kind of argue with myself about that, and I say, well, anything's better than the pound or a kill shelter where I would probably try to get a dog from so they weren't euthanized. So who knows? Maybe pretty soon you'll turn on one of these and I'll have a pup in the background. I can promise you I won't use a shock collar to keep them in frame or just force them to stay in frame. If they want to, great, because that could be cute and fun, but certainly wouldn't force them to. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think, especially the dog lovers out there. I want to hear from you if you've lost dogs in the past. How long did it take you to feel like you were really over it? Because I still don't feel like I am, and I think we're a year and 2 months almost. Yeah. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you enjoy these Just Yapping videos. And yeah, you'll be seeing more content from me over the weekend, but I will be hopefully having a great time in DC, visiting friends and staying offline. So hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll talk again in a few days.